Oh, my God, son, what the hell are you doing?
364 more days till next year's hockey tryouts. I gotta toughen up.
Only there you shall find the master.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, well, you're the one. And,
Who's the one and only master?
Hey, Iconical family. You know, I've never been much of a hot sauce guy. Either it's too hot, or I'm running to the bathroom right after, or something. It's just never been my thing. That all changed when I tried Norse Hall. Norse Hall is from West Virginia and provides solid flavor in all of their hot sauces. Handmade, fermented, and all natural ingredients are put together to make, quite frankly, some of the best damn hot sauce I've had in my life. My favorite, Freyer Zest. Habanero ginger peach hot sauce made with peaches, carrots, honey, habanero peppers, lime, ginger, onions, and all of the delicious goodness you could want in any hot sauce. If you want something lighter, try their Siggins Venom hot sauce. Maybe you need a little bit more heat, crank it up a notch with their Searcher's Wrath and Couch Burner hot sauce. Whatever you desire, they can match. Go to norse-hall.com. That is norse-hall.com today to put your order in. norse-hall.com. We are the West Virginia Hot Sauce Company. Hey, Iconical family. Are you a coffee drinker? Over 65% of Americans and more than 40% of the world consume coffee every day. TinyDogCoffee.com has the style you want. With a 100-year-old, fourth-generation owned roaster in New York City, specifically roasted and natural flavors of the highest quality possible. Actual hazelnut, fresh dried blueberries, and toasted almonds in the beans. Small batch local. TinyDogCoffee.com offers epic coffee selections that will fulfill your coffee needs. Morning Walk Hazelnut, Tail Wagger Blueberry Cream, Sloppy Kisses Rocky Road, and of course, the Big Bite Espresso, and many more. Visit TinyDogCoffee.com to get your order in today. TinyDogCoffee.com, the Hudson Valley's smallest coffee purveyor.
Who's the guy? What's his name?
Damon John.
What's the Shark Tank you said?
Yeah, the black guy.
Oh, bald dude.
okay.
Yeah, he's
Bald
like the
black
old
guy.
FUBU guy.
Okay. Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah, so the story was that they walked into a bar, and they said there he was, you know what I mean? And they said, well, would it be cool if we just kind of asked, hey, can he be in the podcast? So they went over, asked to be on the podcast. He originally said no.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Because your ego is here at first, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just gets bursted. The kid was persistent.
Yeah.
Continued to email him. Continued to just like hammer it away. Like boom, boom, boom. Like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we have to offer. Oh, we're doing this week. Every week was a different email. Finally, he was just like, okay, I'll come on the show. Now he is Damon's right-hand videographer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so, and he's right in Poughkeepsie.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's he started a whole company beyond that, especially with some dude in New Paltz. That's his main business partner.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, they're just, they haven't stopped since then. It's actually been pretty good. So.
Oh, okay, that's great, man.
There's a lot of people in the Hudson Valley, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of famous folks actually settle in here.
Yeah.
From Paul Rudd owns a place in Rhinebeck.
I heard that. Okay.
Uma Thurman owns a place in Woodstock.
That I didn't know.
Yep. John Travolta's got a place up here. There's lots of them out there.
Yeah. I know. What was it? De Niro.
Robert De Niro. Yep.
Robert. Yeah. Bobby.
Bobby D.
Bobby.
Why? Where is he? He has a place here?
Yeah. He's got a place in Westchester.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Also one in Gardner.
Oh, yeah. One in New Paltz.
And Steve Buscemi is New Paltz, actually.
Yeah.
so it's actually not too bad.
All right. I'm up and running.
All right, cool.
Floor is yours.
Floor is mine. Cool. Well, first of all, I appreciate the time and the effort, so thank you. Sorry for being late.
No problem. Yeah, I know you reached out to me or we talked about it a long time ago.
Yeah, I figured.
But then we just got busy, setting things up with the business and working on it, and eventually I just talked to Kevin. I said, hey, I had this conversation with Brian a while ago. We were looking to how we can generate different content and generate interest in the business. So we just went with that whole approach, and we said, hey, we'll reach out to Brian, see if he still wants to do it.
Always still on board, man, to do something. The funny thing was too when I set up a meeting here with Kev, I walk in and it's a whole party. They're like, Dirty! Because my nickname is Dirty.
Yeah.
So that's what.
They
knew him.
Yeah,
They knew who he
And
was.
then I was like, all right. I really it's fun. It's fun when people know who you are.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like I kind of just want to get in and get out of this. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just want to get stuff done. So.
You're coming in with this is like a business meeting
Yep.
mindset, and then a whole bunch.
And boom, people.
Yeah. It's almost just like you don't want to get. Have you guys ever walked into a place and you see something that's familiar, recognizable, and almost like nostalgic at the same time, and then you just kind of get thrown off. And you're like, wait, I had this whole strategy set up and ready to roll, and now,
I can't be who I was gonna pretend to be.
Yes. A lot of people pretend to be.
Yeah, I mean, you have different facades, so you put on a face to go to this thing, and so then you're like, damn,
Works
different than your friends versus your family, everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when you're trying to negotiate something. Mm-hmm. Your negotiation has to be on point for certain things.
And once that happens, you're completely railed. Goes, oh well, that didn't work.
No. Have you guys heard of Chris Voss?
No. Vaguely rings a bell, but I'm not sure.
So Chris Voss was in the he was in the FBI Master Negotiations for 21 years.
Okay. So he has a book, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, what is it called? Don't Split the Difference?
I think that's exactly what it is. And I've used some of his things, like the hotel, right? So the hotel thing I've used. I went into a hotel, went word for word exactly what he wanted, what he told me to do. Not me, but it'd be great if I can hang out with him. But so I went in and I told the woman, I said, hey, I'm going to make your life miserable today, right? So it sets up, the way he said it was like, it sets up automatic, like, I'm going to make your job hard.
Yeah.
And then you give them something that in their line of work is easy to do. So you say, hey, look, is it stupid for me to think that I can check in early without a check-in fee? And is it ridiculous for me to think that there are any upgrades for free for me?
Yeah.
So what he got her to say was no, which is a comfort word that everybody loves to say. That way you have control.
Yep.
And then on top of that, the no actually means a yes.
Yeah.
So no, it's not ridiculous because you can't call your customer stupid, right? Like you can't. And I was like, no shit, that fucking worked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, like, and I got an upgrade.
Yeah.
And no check-in fee.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's a genius.
Yeah.
So
That's brilliant.
Chris Voss.
Power of psychology.
Yeah, words, power words, everything, they work. So, I do want to ask you guys.
Yeah. So is this? I'm sorry. Is this the beginning of it? Are we already in?
Oh, we're in it.
Are we in it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm like.
No,
wait,
don't worry about it, dude.
When do we start?
It's designed to be conversational.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like we're having a nice conversation. I feel like I fucked the flow up now.
No, that's the
That's the nice part. We
whole
can edit.
And at any given point, I can just I'll throw in these questions. Like I have so many interests or interesting like mindsets that I want to pass on to you guys, so you guys can explain them. And usually I actually had to study a couple times when I started this podcast on like segues, how to go in, how to do this, how to do that, because the first couple interviews were just very cut and dry, very this, very that, and then when I figured out the I don't want to say the art of conversation,
Yeah.
but the ins and the outs, it's
Yeah.
like, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
But otherwise it feels very stiff, right?
Yeah.
You say one thing, then
Yeah.
you wait for the...
There's
it
no
feels-
transition. You're just saying, I know I gotta ask him this particular
It becomes
thing.
transactional
Yeah,
versus
yeah.
relationship.
Yeah. So the more relatable I learned is the more they put their guard down.
Yeah.
If I'm more open to something like, if you guys ask me anything,
Yeah.
and I'm just completely open to it, and I say there's no holds bar, you can ask me whatever you want, and you ask something extremely emotional and vulnerable, and I answer it, the odds of you putting your guard down are higher than saying, you know what, I didn't want to talk about that before.
Yeah.
You know, so it's I had to learn about that.
Yeah.
But it really helps.
Yeah.
You know, so
Vulnerability is key.
yeah, 100%.
But you have to have the sort of the bravery. You have to be like, you have to take the leap. You have to be for the one, like, it's like kind of jumping in a pool. Like the first person has to jump in, and then everybody's like, okay, let's jump in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like you have to have the bravery to take that first leap. Then
Yeah.
everybody says, okay, if you're gonna do it,
Then-
if you're gonna be vulnerable, I'll do it.
Yeah, I can do it too.
Yeah.
We're all in this
Yeah,
together,
yeah.
and it's like it's a hard thing to do sometimes because not people on their own, just in a regular day lifestyle, are not.
yeah.
They won't do it.
That's why vulnerability is so important. Teach that on stages all the time. When you're sharing a story, it's important to break into that vulnerable space so that the people in the audience can relate to you. Because a lot of times, if you go to a seminar or something, you listen to a podcast, you read a book, and you're just reading for the information, you're not really getting the message. That's where sharing those important stories breaks down that barrier and then says, oh, here we are. Let me listen. Let me hear this person out and enjoy the story.
Yeah, I think there could be a big difference too between like taking in information and then comprehending it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I can read a book
Yeah.
and I can say that I read the book.
Yeah.
That's great, but if I can't comprehend it,
Yeah. If you don't take anything away from it.
yeah, it serves
Yeah,
no
sometimes
purpose.
I do that when I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook. Sometimes you just feel like I haven't gotten anything from the last 10 minutes. I've tuned out. I'm like, I'm not listening. None of this
called
information is coming in.
ADD.
Yeah. I gotta like rewind back and be like, oh yeah, no, I missed like the last 10 minutes. I mean, I didn't miss it. I heard it, but I didn't.
Yeah, you
nothing
didn't
meant
take-
it.
it-
Yeah,
it-
I'm
it
not
didn't
like
sink
paying
in.
attention to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like audiobooks are good in that way, but at the same time, it's easy to tune them out.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, what
That's why I
happened?
like
Yeah.
the physical reading better.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's much harder to zone out of a,
Yeah.
you're not reading the book.
Yeah.
You think?
I can't read.
Oh.
I can't read. Like when I read, if I read for any length of time, everything just blurs.
Oh, really?
So it's the auditory tune out,
Okay.
the visual tune out
Oh,
for me. I go,
but you can't keep reading. I feel like the
yeah.
audio, it just keeps
It keeps
playing.
going,
It just
yeah,
keeps
yeah.
going. Even when you're zoned out, it just keeps going. And then you're like, wait, what did
where
we
did I
come from?
miss,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
where did I start
Yeah,
missing it?
exactly.
Because now I have to go find where I
Yeah,
missed.
yeah.
So this is where Joby.
Yeah.
All I had to do was get one right. Now we're set. All right. This is where I think Joby's smarter than me because anybody who can read a book,
Yeah.
I think automatically I'm like, you are disciplined
No.
because I can't.
Yeah, yeah.
I can sit down, and all of a sudden like my mind goes like squirrel.
Yeah.
Like and it just goes somewhere, right?
It's funny because we grew up, books were very rare. It was hard to find books to read for us. We grew up in India.
Okay.
And we used to go to a Catholic school there. And it was like they had this little library, but it's like you couldn't touch the books. You know, it was like kind of like it was the kind of they didn't want us in there. You know, it was like they didn't want us coming in there. Basically, the nuns or the teachers didn't want us coming in there, messing up the place. Everything was kept like neat and tidy in order. But like you couldn't borrow books, and we had like two.
You couldn't take books home or
You couldn't
anything.
take
You
books
could
home or
come there
anything
as
like
a
that.
class and you get like everybody gets a book and you sit quietly and read the book
In
and then
that location.
and read as many pages and then close the book and they put it away. Yeah, you never get to take it home.
You never get to walk through the shelves, nothing like that. Yeah, we owned like basically two books that we got from a teacher, and it was like Hardy Boys, you know, old Hardy Boy detective.
Detective books.
And then I used to read one, he used to read one, and we used to swap, and then we didn't have any of the books, so he used to give me back the book that I read, and we just read it up again and again. That's how, like when we came to the U.S. when we were like 13 years old, we came to the U.S. We were like, I was like, wait, you can just read all the books, all these books, you can read them all. He's like, yeah, wait, you can take them all. I feel like that Vince McMahon.
He's
the meme. You can take them all home.
about to go home, and he's like, "Look, nobody's gonna tap him."
These are mine. Yeah.
They can just keep them at home for a month. That's amazing. That's crazy.
So you were in a You guys were in a Catholic
School, yeah.
in India.
In India,
Is
yeah.
that more common than?
Yeah, there's a relative. I mean, it's only a small percentage, relatively, a Christian population, but it's still like 1 or 2%. But it's out of a billion people, so it is a sizable. It's still a sizable population. But so yeah.
But
so,
there are a lot of Christian missions and stuff like that that establish schools all across the country, even if it's the population. Like where we were,
it doesn't
not
serve a strictly Christian population. Anybody can come and register and do it. It's almost like a public school. It was fine. Yeah.
So what era did you guys grow up in? Was it
It was like
Good question.
Yeah, you gotta know.
So it was, we were there from like the mid late 80s up until like early 90s. Early 90s. We came here in 1995.
Okay.
So we were in that era, but at that era it was also weird. Now I feel like the world is so small and like it's so open. So any trend that starts here, like if girls start posing a certain way in California.
It's in
Calcutta, it's like 2 weeks later they're doing the same face.
Really?
2 weeks later because of the internet. You're like immediately seeing it. It's on Instagram. People are following people. Kim Kardashian's doing it, and everybody follows Kim or whatever. Whoever the big it person is.
Yeah.
I don't even know who the Kardashian, all the Kardashian names. But whoever the most youngest Kardashian is.
Yeah,
she does it.
Kylie. Yeah, Kendall. Yeah.
I don't know.
But that gap was a lot longer.
Yeah.
In when we were growing up. So like stuff that was happening in the 70s was like slowly coming over from America to
in the 80s.
Yeah,
in the 80s.
The 80s.
It was like a decade.
Yeah, it was way behind compared to like movies and songs and all that stuff was way behind what was happening in the US. But now that gap's tightened up so much because of the internet. Because everything that's happening here, like guys are wearing a certain beard or mustache in Brooklyn, and boom, next thing in Delhi they're doing the same thing.
Now, has everybody mispronounced that? Is it Delhi?
Yeah.
It's not Delhi.
Yeah, Delhi.
Delhi is up in New York. Delhi is in
No,
India.
I know that. People have actually called it
Delhi?
Delhi.
No, Delhi's in New York. That's like Cairo and Cairo.
Okay.
Cairo, Egypt, and Cairo, New York.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know it was Delhi in New York. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I was like, oh, that's weird. This is
Delhi,
New York?
India,
Interesting.
Delhi. It's the same spelling.
Yeah, it's the same spelling.
but-
Yeah.
I didn't know Caro was
Yep.
pronounced Caro either.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
See?
Yeah.
We're learning all things.
We're all,
Kind of new.
we're all in the same boat here. So, yeah. I mean, I agree though. If internet, social media, everything, if there's one thing happening on the other side of the world, all of a sudden, what would you say, like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden it's just, you catch on to it,
Yeah.
And as much as, I believe that it can help us, it can also hurt us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, it could be so addicting, like-
Anything has a negative side to it, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of like hopped off all social media for, I've been off social media for a long time just because I was like, how many clever things am I going to read on here? But there's so much good
There's
stuff
so much
on
good
there.
things.
There is so much good stuff
But
on
you
there.
have to weed through.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage on there too, so you have to weed through a lot of stuff. So,
I can only imagine. So, all right, so you guys, from the 80s coming into the 90s, so you guys, what was the childhood like before you came here?
Oh, so that, it was very, now I feel like I have young kids now, and they're growing up in a different, I might as well be raising them in a different planet, from where I grew up.
Completely different.
Because now when I tell stories about my childhood, I remember like us buying a TV for the first time and like being like, oh my God, look at this TV. Look at this.
And it was
And it was like, it was like a big achievement of like middle class, success to like buy a TV. Yep. I remember like us all having like one house in the neighborhood having a TV and all the kids sitting there, watching the TV on the floor, like that kind of like buying a fridge, having a fridge in the house for the first time, like being a big deal, and me just opening the door and be like, wow, it's so cool in here. It's literally cool in here. Like, so now when I tell my kids that, who have no other perspective, and they're like, 9 and 7, and they're girls, they're, so little, and they grew up with this stuff, they can't really imagine. I sound like a crazy old man saying crazy old stories when I say, I had to walk to school. I sound insane when I say this stuff. So I try not to say that many of my childhood stories because I try to give them perspective, but it also has to be like relatively relatable to them. I feel like I'm talking about a different planet. So
I think when they get older, maybe they'll be more interested in it and want to hear it more.
I know when I grew up, I would always, like growing up, now, because I grew up in the countryside, it was behind the times in
Yeah,
cities
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But still, like, listening to my grandparents.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? It took how long for you to get a letter? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then as you get older, it changes.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
perspective changes.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, they grew up with all these things
Yeah.
and didn't understand what the world was.
Yeah.
They're in this bubble.
Yeah, I did take them to India. They did go one time, and so. But the thing is, it's not the same place I'm going to. I mean, I have to put them through a time travel machine to
Yeah.
get to where I am talking about. So this is like a different. You know.
Oh, yeah, my aunt used to live in America, and we had like a neighbor in our area who had a I used to call that number and say, "I'm going to call back in 15 minutes. You know, can you please go get my dad?"
Yeah.
And so they would hang up, go get my dad. Say they're on the call. So my dad used to go sit in their house, like just wait for the phone to ring, and then you know, that's how I used to relate. You know that, and it was like you had to do it very fast because it's very expensive. You paid
At
by
that
the,
time,
paid
yeah.
by the
Yeah.
minute. You know, it's an international call. I mean, a lot of it was. I've had like letters written. You know, we used to
Yeah.
write letters like literally because that's how we.
That's how you communicated.
Yeah, heard from India was people wrote letters to us and
Yeah.
we wrote letters back to
Or
them.
you get a telegram if somebody died or something.
Yeah, so it's like
urgent
it
happened.
was so behind. It was like,
Yeah.
compared to what the world was in 80s. You know what I mean? I remember like 1992, my dad was telling about how the Olympics were happening in Barcelona, and I was like, wow. I was like, what the hell?
What's the Olympics?
What's the Olympics? Where's Barcelona? Like
Explain this thing.
this whole like. And
Yeah.
now I watch. It's like, oh, the dream team went and played, and I'm like, wow. I had no like. I remember hearing about this way back when 1992 when I was 10 years old, but. Just see, this was all happening in America. So my perspective of it, if I lived in America, would be so different, and it was just such a world away. You know what I mean? Like you guys, we went to Barcelona. You guys went to
travel.
Barcelona.
Yeah,
and it's like so being in Barcelona, it's like wow, it's so crazy that this like far away land that you heard about that your dad said the Olympics are happening.
Yeah,
and now you're there.
we're now walking the streets of Barcelona. Yeah, it's weird.
It's crazy.
That's.
Next, you're going to be in the Olympics.
I feel like if you made that call nowadays, the attention span of somebody would be like, let me go get him real quick.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they just don't come back. You're like, oh, that's right, I had to go get somebody. I forgot somebody called.
Yeah.
That's actually, to look at it now, right? How many people are in India?
Well, we're a billion, population-wise.
Did you
largest
guys expect
population.
more people to be in the U.S. when you came here?
No.
No.
I was amazed at how many people were here.
Really?
To be honest,
Because it's huge, obviously, right? But then it's like
but you don't
it's
think
just
of it that
spread
way.
out.
But it just feel like everywhere you travel, like you go to countries in Africa, and there's an Indian community there.
Oh, yeah.
There like you go to Uganda, and there's a huge Indian community. So it's like literally Nepal, Nepal's close to India, but Vietnam or like any country.
Has
like
those communities.
UK, if you go to the UK, it's huge.
Yeah.
But I think he was talking about how many people there are, like just people in general, or in the Indian community.
No, just in general.
Oh,
yeah. But I mean, it's so.
Yeah, because I remember going to my aunt's church. I was like, "Holy cow! There's like so many people here." You know?
And where did you grow up here? Down in Jersey?
No, in we were like in Rockland
Rockland
and
County.
Westchester County. Yeah.
Which there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
You guys came into my neck of the woods, you've been like,
Yeah, there's nobody
Hello?
here. Yeah.
is anybody there?
Yeah, but generally, immigrant populations they congregate in
cities.
in population centers in the
Urban
cities.
areas,
Urban wherever the jobs or opportunities are. Nobody's gonna be like, oh, let me go to
No.
Yeah, it's very hard to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Later on, you might do that. But which my dad did. But yeah.
Yeah.
So did everybody came over as one family?
Yeah, we all
Cool.
came together. Yeah, my mom's sister was here, or already she was established, and she's the one who did the paperwork for us to come over. And I think she filed the paperwork when we were like 2 years old or something, and took 11 years for it to
Process.
go
Yeah.
through the process and
Get all the approvals and everything.
get all the approvals. And,
Because you hear the horror stories of people that are coming from, all over, right?
Yeah.
America was built on immigration.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really what it is. But you hear the horror stories of families having to split up.
Yeah.
And then, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, some
only
people-
one
yeah.
person can go, and then they got to wait 7 years or
Yeah.
6 years or whatever.
Yeah, but that's a lot of that may be people applying for asylum, whatever stuff like that. That's a different circumstance. This is
Yeah.
more like we're just applying for it through, I guess, financial opportunity kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's I'm not even sure really how you get like a immigration. I forgot exactly what the visa is called that you apply for, and then you come in and you establish residency. You show that you're whatever, that you're a good citizen. You're paying taxes and everything else, and you can apply for your residency visa, which is your green card, and then you get your green card, and then from there you get your citizenship after you've had your green card for whatever 10 years, something like that, 8 years, something like that. Now it may be more or less now, but it's but I mean for us. It's a huge being in this country. It's like if we don't. I mean, for us, it's still like we think we still have perspective on it. Our kids are kind of like probably like entitled to. They're like we're Americans,
which they should. Rightfully, they should feel that way. They should feel that way because they were born here and it is their country. They should feel that way. But we, for us, it was an opportunity for a lifetime. We felt like we won the lottery kind of thing. Like going to America was a big deal. So it was cool. And I feel like we've over the years tried to be like, hey, justify that opportunity in a way, by doing something positive, for ourselves and for our community and stuff like that. Because it's kind of like it's a luxury. I mean, there's a lot of things you can criticize about the country. There's a lot of, you could point to a lot of flaws like any other country. You could point to, there's a million things. But, I mean, when I look at, there's always room for improvement, always. We should always try to grow, try to improve, which I think we do. But then there's also, when you look at something like, when our troops were leaving Afghanistan, there's a reason mothers were handing their little babies to our servicemen and women. To be like, please take them. Please take, how heartbreaking is it for a mom to hand a little kid to a stranger? But that's how much opportunity it represents. And that's how much hope there is here in this country. It's vested in here that you could just airdrop a kid here, and he has a better chance. She has a better chance. Then better chance at education, better chance at life, better chance at opportunity. Like you can make something of yourself. So that's like not to be denied. It's definitely like an amazing thing to be a part of. So.
That is a mindset of like if you really think about that, like you're leaving your child somewhere where you think they have the best opportunity to become something. In your mind of whatever it may be, right? Like that's your kid. Like that's not something to. You know what I mean? And it's just like you're right, 100%. That is something that's like mind blowing. Mind blowing. So you get up. So you guys get here. You 13 years old. Okay. So what did your parents do? Or were they?
My dad was a machinist. Like my mom was like a stay-at-home mom when she was here, and my dad was like a machinist. He did like they had like this thing that made like water heaters or water things or something, and boilers and things like that that they made. So they would manufacture those, and he worked there. And so when he came here, he looked for a similar job, and he actually ended up getting something in like but at that time the technology had changed though, because again, like you said, how everything was behind it. The technology was also different, so then he had to learn like
you're doing a manual lathe machine versus now you're doing CNC operated machines, and it's a whole different thing. So you have to learn it.
Back in the 90s, it wasn't CNC though.
Was it? I think he was already, but maybe they were just starting in something like that. But they were. I mean, this was like 95, 96, so so they were. It was that gap he had to bridge, but I think he was able to do it. But the speaking of that, like they used to send boilers to operations, oil drilling operations, stuff like that in Siberia. It's like India and the USSR, the former USSR, were economically much more aligned than India and the USA in those days. You know what I mean? So the old USSR had trade and political alignment with India more so than the US in those days. But they had, so that was kind of like a small part of it, was they used to send boilers and heaters to operations.
Siberia.
That's something. Look,
they need boilers up there. Freezing cold.
But it was like the counterweight. The U.S. proxy was Pakistan, and the Russian proxy was India. I mean, that was kind of like I don't want to dismiss them by calling them proxy, but yeah, that's kind of what it was. They were like, hey, you come with us, and these, everybody gets one in every part of the world.
You get your country, I get my country.
So that's how they divided the world between themselves in a way.
Pretty much.
U.S. At the height of their power, USSR. But now it's much different. It's much more open, and it's still. But there's still that old connection. India and Russia still have that. Like, hey, they still kind of.
A lot of the South Asian and Middle Eastern countries, they all still have some connection to the Soviet.
Yeah.
What was stunning to me, I just looked at this fact up recently, was how small the Russian population is. It's not that big.
Oh, it's tiny in comparison to size.
But I mean, just generally, it's not like.
But
Japan has 148 million people, and Russia has like 178 million people. It's like a little bit more than Japan.
Yeah,
and it's crazy to me.
Hundreds of times larger. But the problem is so much of it is inhabitable.
Yeah, I agree. But it just felt like it's just in our global sphere. It's so much influence and so much thing. But it's like so few people. Yeah, it's crazy.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, it's so small. Yeah,
I thought it would be comparable to U.S. numbers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah.
No, they're about half of our numbers.
They forget that it's part of Asia too.
Yeah.
Like, you would never guess that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it stretches so big.
Yeah.
But it's always straddled that thing, even all the way back to, I think, the Alexander the Great or the old Tsars. Like, are we European or are we?
The answer is you are Russian.
You are Russian.
It was kind of. It was always kind of been. Kind of swung back and forth. It's like, oh, everybody starts speaking French in our courts, and then it's like, no, we're not doing that. Or it's like, so are we a Slavic people or are we, Western people? Blah blah. And go back and forth.
So I want to bring you guys back real quick, and I want to ask you a question that might get a little deep here.
Yeah.
What's the greatest lesson that your parents ever taught you?
Greatest lesson, I feel like my mom, what I learned is like how the value of hard work, basically. She just had a great work ethic. Like, she was very, very determined in going about it. She was very meticulous. I felt like if she grew up here, she would have had like probably a very successful career. She worked in like factories for the most part, like, doing like, doing like assembly line type of work, But even that stuff, she did it very meticulously, very conscientiously. She was very like dedicated to showing up. She felt the responsibility to the people who were employing her, and she felt the responsibility to the people who worked with her. And she kind of took a pride in the quality of the work she did, and she didn't really lecture me on it, but just the way she lived her life. Yeah. It just gave me that idea that she takes it very seriously.
It was not a lesson that was taught. It was taught more by example than by
verbally
preaching it. Yeah, exactly.
So she that's kind of probably the biggest thing I took away. I always try to emulate her in that sense. I feel like I don't have it to the level that she does, but I aspire to it, So I'm still like trying to grow into that set of being like, okay, this is something that's important. And I feel like the best way to do it is to like fall in love with the process. You have to kind of enjoy the process. There's nothing that's repeatable if you don't enjoy it. So if you hate going to the gym, you just can't do it, no matter how determined you are. You're like January 1st, man. But if you hate the process, you just cannot do it. You're not going to get to it. Yeah. You have to fall in love. Love is the secret. Yeah, it is. Love is the secret. You have to be like, hey, I love this thing, and you have to love the process, and you have to be like, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to enjoy doing it. There's like a certain mindset you have to get into, and she kind of genuinely enjoyed it and enjoyed working and took pride in it. And even she didn't do. I don't know. I don't know that she did anything that she would consider to be a very critical function or something. She wasn't curing cancer or anything, but she still took it very seriously and worked really hard on it. So I took that from her that, hey, you could have a small life, you could have a small role, but it's important to do it well. Do the small things well, and have that sort of work ethic.
Yeah.
So that's good. There you go.
Me? This is your guys' show. I would say one of the most valuable lessons I learned actually didn't come from a parent per se, but a parental figure was in sort similar. So work ethic has always been my thing, and finding something you could be passionate towards makes it so. The old adage, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, right? My great-grandfather taught me that if you do stuff with passion, if you do things with passion, no matter what it is in life, it will show in the work you do. And people will reward you for that. And it may not be in a monetary sense. It may be in an attaboy or in a, hey, can you do that for me? And it will spread in that fashion. And so I try to always approach things in life with that passion that bleeds through whatever it is that I'm doing. Any work that I aspire to achieve, if it's not something I'm passionate about, it almost never gets done. And it's not something that I quote unquote control. It's a fact of habit for me now. That if, example, veterans, I do a lot for the veteran community. I love my veteran community. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I will go out of my way to make sure I can do whatever I can for that community. But it shows because people now ask me to do things for that community, and so do with passion as though if it is the commodity you get to build your life upon.
I like that.
That's me. That was my great-grandfather.
I was gonna ask. You said it wasn't your parents per se, so I was gonna ask.
Yeah, that was my great-grandfather. My mother's mother's father. Old sailor. Old farm Dutchman sailor.
So he had a lot of miles on him then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both figuratively and literally.
There you go.
How about you, Joseph?
Yeah, I would say it's just about like my dad, just how like to always be curious, to be a learner, be a seeker. So I just try to do, whether I'm reading or whether I'm traveling or meeting new people, just try to be as open as possible, open-minded as possible. Because he's been like all over the world. Because he was my age when he came to the. I think about kind of things from his perspective. He was my age. Now I'm 42 now. He was my age when he came here into the U.S. It was like leaving behind everything you built and coming to a new country, and you don't have really any social connections. You don't have any financial. You don't have any economic assets.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just basically come here and build everything from scratch. So it's like if I had to like leave here, go somewhere else, and start everything from scratch, it would be quite a challenge. But he did it. I mean, he kind of did it basically to basically set us up. Have opportunity for us. It's like, hey, this is the country where my boys are going to have better opportunity than if I stay here. So he did it, and then, but also I felt like he had a certain amount of curiosity of saying, okay, I want to go and see if I can do it, kind of thing. So just that curiosity and open-mindedness and this attitude of seeking, I just try to emulate my dad in that.
I think that's good. Curiosity's huge.
Yeah.
If you're never curious, you're never.
Oh yeah, that's like my number one thing for when I get to know a person. Like, hey, I measure the curiosity of this person. Like, are they intellectually curious? Do they ask questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are they interested in other people? That's a big factor. I feel like that's something that can't be taught. No. And if you're not curious, you kind of stagnate.
You don't learn.
You don't
Yeah,
learn.
you don't learn.
Your levels kind of. You could be a smart person, and you're like, oh, this guy's pretty smart for like a 17-year-old kid, and they just stay at that same level if you're not absorbing new information. And most of the smartest people are curious because you have to be. You have to be.
Yeah, if you're asking questions, like I mean, I've met parents, right, and I get it. They're young kids, right, and you go through the why stage. Kids, right? And it's like, but why? But why?
Yeah.
And one of my friends, he's like, dude, I answer every why question. And I was like, why?
But why?
But why? I had to ask that question. I was like, why do you do that? He's like, because I'm gonna have a different answer every time. And he's like, he'll ask why, but you have to see his face when he's processing what I'm saying. Like he's processing it like, okay. But why? Right? And so there's a picture, he said, going through his brain.
Yep.
I explain it to him. He says why. He creates this whole story. He's like, and he'll remember it the next day because he has so many questions. Rather than that's just the way it is.
But also, I think it encourages that kid's curiosity too. Rather than stifle it. Right?
It's okay.
Say, okay, ask.
Yeah, I think it's big.
Too often the kids, especially of today, the curiosity cloud just gets diminished.
Very quickly.
You just this is just how the world works. You just need to fall in line.
Stop asking.
Here, go play on your phone.
That's what it is, right? Tablets.
And then they get all their information from the internet, and then people complain because they're getting all their information. You gave it to them. What do you expect?
Agreed.
So
So I want to dive into business with you guys. Now, obviously, you guys started this business here, which I enjoy. This is a great spot. I enjoy it. It's nice. It's comfortable. But where did the first idea of business between you two, and it'll trickle down to Kev here, where did that come from? When did you guys decide, hey, we have an idea, or we want to start exploring ideas? What was the time frame of that?
I think we always had this mindset of we're going to do something like this. I feel like even when we were kids, we were like always looking at things like, oh, you know, how can we like set up a business, something that like kind of makes money. We were like selling things even when we were kids. We were like selling things like stickers and little things that we bought, or little like, you know, things that we made.
Little entrepreneur.
Yeah, little even at school. Like,
but it goes way back to my grandfather.
Oh yeah,
that's true. My dad's dad, who owned he owned a business in India. So he was basically was like, I work for Pepsi now, and I work supply chain basically is my purview. So it's kind of funny because that's kind of what he did, was just basically bring goods to market. So he went to wholesalers and farmers and brought animal feed and you know, all these other things that you need to run a farm, tools, implements, stuff like that, and he brought it to market. And he had a store and he set it up there, and that's people bought it from him, and he had a thriving and good business. He unfortunately passed away when he was very young. When my dad was 7 when he died.
Oh wow.
So he was probably about maybe a little older than I am, 47, something like that. Maybe he was when he passed. So, but then it's also, there's no life insurance. There's no nothing, no way to back him up. It's like your kids are basically, you know, destitute when you die because you're the provider. You know, so that's. I feel like my dad's family was on a good track, and then he died, and then all of a sudden everything, basically the wheels came off the wagon there. But he was an entrepreneur by nature and in practice, and I feel like we kind of had that bug all the time. Even though my dad never really talked about his dad that much, but even when we were young, we did that. Like, you know, we used to get like a newspaper sometimes, and so there's photos of Pele or all these soccer stars. We used to like cut them out and stick them on a harder paper and make like a little postcard of it and sell it to our friends. You know what I mean? So we used to do like different things that, you know, whatever was available. Yes,
you guys doing it in marketing early.
So we used to do stuff like that when we were young. And then we always had the idea we want to start something when we get the opportunity to do it. And this was one when we were I want to say 2018. Yeah, when we had our birthday, we went to a place in Jersey that had axe throwing, and it was called Stumpy's. And we did axe throwing, and we loved the whole experience of it and loved the whole vibe of the place. And we were like, hey, we want to do this. You know, when we get the opportunity, we want to do it in where we are. I live in Fishkill, so you know, we are something somewhere in our area, in the Hudson Valley area. We didn't have anything like this. We wanted to do something like this and bring it to that market. And so that's why, I mean, Saxon Hall was just basically, the name came from, basically I have a real fascination with Anglo-Saxon history, and really like, you know, we used to read a lot of books like Bernard Cornwell and all those old stories and old things made, like, you know, like King Arthur stories, and all these stories were really fascinating to us. We loved that. And then Saxon Hall was just kind of like basically in a Saxon village, it's a feasting hall. So it's like big timber hall where the chief stayed, and that's where they did all the weddings and the feasts and the funerals, and basically any important event that happened for that tribe happened there in that feasting hall. So that's kind of what we just want to be, a hub for the community, for people to get together and have fun, enjoy company with each other. So that's kind of the theme and the idea behind this. And, you know, you get to throw axes.
Yeah.
By the way, you get to throw axes. Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that it goes back to books.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, you know, it's important to know that, hey, you know, it was rare for you guys, right? And then it's just kind of like, we remember this, and it kind of goes right into your business aspect of things, you know. So, Kev, what kind of did you have a business mind growing up?
Yes. I, like these guys, have been entrepreneurial my entire life. It annoyed most of my family.
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, hey, can I set up a lemonade stand in your front yard? Hey, can I use your hose to do a car wash? Hey, can I use the garage to do... Like, I was constantly trying to find new ways, not so much to make money, I just like the idea of working.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of being busy and working. And so I started my first company. I actually started when I was 11 or 12 years old. Obviously not legally, but like I had a full business. I had a book of business. I had clients. I had people that were actually working with me in the journey for me at the time. And so entrepreneurship was always in my wheelhouse. I don't think I could ever work for somebody ever again. The entrepreneurial bug is just too deep.
I've actually scratched the surface of it, and I was like, "What's under?" Oh, we have all these opportunities here. Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's actually, I'm glad I actually kind of ripped open the ground there and just kind of saw a bunch of fresh dirt that I can plant stuff in, and I'm like, all right, here we go. So it's
and that kind of like spirit of like risk taking is like kind of foundational to the country, to building this country. Like people, it's up to individual people to take individual risks, to be like, hey, I'm gonna go start this homestead in the middle of nowhere. It's dangerous territory, and there's nothing, no services established there. But that kind of spirit of like risk-taking and like adventurism is kind of what it's founded on. So I feel like this is like the best place to start something. Even if it doesn't work out, you still have a chance to do it again, or you're not going to be like destroyed by it. You can still come back from those things. So I feel like it's just that's kind of like speaks to like how well this country managed to use its human resources in a way that it doesn't limit people, So,
But I think it goes all the way back to even the founding of the country. There was nothing like it.
No.
There was no republics in Europe that they could model it off of. I mean, they were looking at ancient Rome as an example of saying, okay, maybe, but the idea of that it would even work without a monarchy, without a central religion, you know what I mean, a secular government that's a republic, where the guy who in power let go of the levers every 4 years, in theory.
Not when they passed away. It was on a term limit.
That whole thing was just such a rickety, risky setup. It's insane, and also how young everybody was. I mean, just like
we were in our 20s.
Like John Adams was in his early 30s.
Yeah.
Jefferson was very young. Even Washington was early 40s. They were all very very young people.
Except Ben.
Yeah, Ben Franklin was.
Ben was old.
He was always old.
Ben was old.
It's crazy how
Ben came here old.
It's like the guy always said. Yeah, I think he looked old probably when he was 7. He probably looked But it's weird how like Rome, like that was the foundation of so much, and then it's almost like it's still the foundation of a lot. Like you know what I mean? And people just. I don't know. I think people overstep that.
Yeah.
They really don't see that, and they don't dive in and be like, no, this is still, if you go back to that point, it's still run. Like, if you look at, I'm sorry, but baseball stadiums, NFL stadiums, that's the Coliseum.
Coliseums.
Okay, that's the Coliseum. All right, it is meant for entertainment.
They were so far ahead of their time.
Yeah.
That's
the only difference is those ones now get paid to do what they do.
Yeah.
Instead of
these people died.
Those died, or they at least got to eat. These guys get paid to do it.
But it's just funny because it's like Rome because they had water supply, they had basically the ability to have 1 million people in that city.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen again till the 1920s. So it's like you think about that's
You're
how long
talking
it took
that much
to
time.
to
rebuild back, recreate something they
something
did.
something that they did. It's like
Built this
having
incredible
a
infrastructure.
in those days having 1 million people in the city is like
insane. I don't want 1 million people in this.
So I want to take you guys back to, you mentioned Stumpy's.
Yeah.
Okay. It was axe throwing?
Yeah.
It's an axe throwing place. Yeah.
Now, did you have a blueprint that you guys wanted at first? And did it match the blueprint that you guys wanted, if you had one?
Sorry, the question is, did we have a blueprint when we started the idea or thought of the idea, and then did it match what we built?
Yeah, so the blueprint that you had, like usually everybody has a blueprint, but did you have a specific idea of exactly what you wanted, or you just kind of like said, hey, we're going to try this out and,
Yeah, we looked at a lot of things. I wouldn't say that we had a specific thing that we said, this is what we're going to do, but we just explored it a lot. We talked to a lot of people. We even talked to Stumpy's and thought about, okay, maybe we can start a franchise. They had a franchise, but then we decided against it. We just said, we'll just do our own thing, and that, we wanted to do our own idea, and that's how we did Saxon Hall. What our concept is, the way we had was different than Stumpy's in many ways because they have painted targets. We're doing digital stuff, so we can project onto our targets and have all sorts of interactive games. We even have you can have a group come in and they can put their photos on the targets. They can do all sorts of interactive stuff. That game,
I was gonna say so many enemies have been thrown that and they have no idea.
Or if a group of 4 people come in, they can just all just upload it from their phone and put it on the targets and then throw. So it's like we can do cool stuff like that because we have the projection system that we have. And then another thing what we want to do with Stumpy's, they had their bring your own beer, bring your own bottle setup, but we want to do more like where we feature local breweries and local cideries, and mead is a big thing for us, where we basically introduce a lot of our customers to mead as a new thing, and it's a traditional Saxon drink, so it's very appropriate for us to have it. So it's basically fermented honey liquor. That is that. So those are some of the aspects that we came to, or we didn't have that as a part of our initial blueprint, but we got there. And that's a process. I wouldn't say that we definitely didn't have that in our mind the way we had it when we first started. We said, okay, we want to do something like this, and then it was a slow process of figuring out what we wanted to do.
Now, was mead brought in because of axe throwing and kind of like a Viking?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it fit the thing better, and people, and it's kind of was a differentiator for us as a business. So we thought this is something that nobody else really offers. So it was interesting.
We had this good distributor. His name is Andrew. He was from Brooklyn, and he goes all over the country and even to Canada. And he gets all different meads, and he has a warehouse in Brooklyn, and he basically does the delivery. He does a lot of tastings all across the country. He's a very passionate guy who he
cares about the product.
Yeah, cares about the product a lot. He's a very, very solid guy. He's a good vendor for us, and he's he's the one who kind of brought it to us, and we said, yeah, well, let's do it.
So it's pretty funny because one of the sponsors of Iconical is called Norse Hall.
Oh, okay.
And they make mead.
Oh, really?
Cool.
Okay.
And they make hot sauce.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't indulge into hot sauce a lot.
Yeah.
But their hot sauce is great because it doesn't fuck with my stomach.
Yeah.
Like everything is great. And then he was like, "Dude, we have a mead." And I was like, "Wait, when did you come up with a mead?"
Yeah.
So I also
Where
have
are they based?
West Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Wow.
So, and I have a coffee sponsor up in Saugerties.
Which one?
Tiny Dog Coffee.
Okay.
That's my neck of the woods. That's why I was like,
Oh, okay, yeah. So they are now mixing
Oh, really?
coffee and hot sauce? Or coffee and mead?
mead.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yep, the process began about a year ago. So now it's I would love to hook you guys up with that if that's something you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
These guys are awesome and good friends too.
Yeah,
So it's like they started everything from the ground up. So I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah.
Like I have respect for you guys
Yeah.
because you started with an idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so you guys do mead. You have a great vendor that goes around and
Yeah.
really, I mean, he's passionate about it.
Yeah.
Where did you find that gentleman? Like, how did that relationship, correlate?
It was through I think Amy and them.
Gennaro.
Gennaro, because we have a good friend of ours who owns a liquor store in my neck of the woods, and
Okay.
he works with Andrew, and then Andrew came in here one day, brought me some samples, and then we try them out, and we said, okay, cool, we'll do it, and we started buying 6 stills from him, little
I
1/6 kegs. Yeah.
I wish they came in half kegs.
Yeah, but
As fast as we go through.
we go through them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Did he?
And the thing is, we like Kevin also is really into it because he deals with the customers directly a lot more than me. Just basically introducing people to it, saying, "Hey, you should try this." You know what I mean? And people are blown away by because it's so robust and you can do so many different varieties with it, with meat, and you can add all sorts of different flavors into it. You could add all sorts of berries, spices, everything.
So I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm learning this. Like,
Yeah.
and
It can take so much. It's not. Yeah.
You actually mentioned a hot sauce out of mead. Well, one of our foods is wing hot sauce that's actually made with one of our meats.
Yeah,
That's
Brian did the glaze with
one of our
our
meats.
Viking blood mead,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
he used that because he wanted to kind of tie the
tie
menu to
the
place.
menu to the
establishment.
to our offerings. Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, you can't go.
We don't do coffee and meat yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me put my thinking cap on.
That's hey, everybody deserves an idea and an idea to.
Well, I
to
love
build off
coffee
of.
and I love meat, so I'm surprised I haven't come up with something sooner. But now you've got me working.
No, that's okay. Guys, I have not been a big coffee drinker or hot sauce person until they're like, well, do you want to try it? I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'll try it. Right.
Yeah.
So I jump in, I tried a coffee, and he's got 9 different flavors. So I was like, okay. And I was like, I've had coffee before.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just popped out. Right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this tastes really good. I
Yeah.
kind of want more of this. So I started to become a coffee drinker, and then all of a sudden he sends me a bunch of hot sauce. You want to? Let me be careful here. My stomach is not exactly the best, and it doesn't mess with my stomach. So it's like finally something that actually works. So
that's great.
if I'm glad that you guys found a way to include everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's awesome. That's half the battle, is making sure your customers are taken care of through flavor and like entertainment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like entertainment is like huge, and if you can't do that right and you can't feed their stomachs,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have anybody coming back. So
Yeah, it's good to find those little pieces that kind of fit together and add to the environment. So it's kind of like a cohesive experience, and it makes sense, and it's like consistent all the way through. And we're like very focused on like making sure the people have a quality experience, and it's a fun experience, and everything we do is like hey, we like the stuff that we're pouring. We know the distributors, or we're like have a partnership with Brotherhood Winery, and we're like, okay, we know these people, we talk to them, and we like their product ourselves, and we're kind of involved in the way the place is set up. So I think that was important, and I think that shows in the way people experience the place. And I think everybody here, they come, they have a great time, and it kind of has the quality of the place, and it kind of reflects in the experience of everybody who comes. So I think that was all important to us.
now is Stumpy still open?
Yeah.
Still rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of
17.
locations.
They're like a
I only
franchise.
know the one that's on at 17. 'cause I passed
They
by
have a
every time I
franchise,
drive
so
up.
they have multiple
they're
locations
multiple,
all over the place.
So they're everywhere. Yeah.
So what made you guys, you said you wanted something closer to home, right? Did you kind of build off of what you had there, or did you say, hey, we learned our, I would say this just in my own way of doing things, learn from the mistakes there, or learn from the gains there and just applied it to here?
Yeah, because I mean, Stumpy's, we had that one experience, but then I did a lot more research. I reached out to this one guy in Whistler, Canada, James Anderson. He was on a podcast that I listened to, but he talked about his business. It's an entrepreneurial podcast, and different entrepreneurs come on there. And it's in Whistler, Canada. Whistler, Canada, I don't know if you know it. It's a ski town, and so they get a lot of tourist trade come through.
Okay.
He started a axe throwing place over there, and then listening to that podcast, then I reached out to him on Facebook and kind of talked to him a little bit about the possibility of doing it. So we just everywhere we did a lot of research on it, reaching out to all different people.
Yeah.
So it was not like Stumpy's. Stumpy's kind of was the beginning of the idea for us, because because we didn't want to do a restaurant or anything. I mean, that's one of the things we're talking about, but I wanted to do something different. I want to do something unique. So that's why we were like, okay. When we saw Stumpy's, we were like, okay, this is a possibility that we can explore. But it's not like we said, okay, we're doing an axe place right there. When we went to Stumpy's, we were like, okay, that's that was in our file of stuff to do. Of possible ideas that we can do. And then when we got the name that we thought of, Saxon Hall, and then we put together the whole picture, and we found this software. There's a guy named Larry in Texas who does the software that we use that does the projected targets. The projected targets, we were like, okay, that would be so cool, because it's so much more interactive and so much more.
It's personable too.
It makes it much easier. So we want to do that, and so different ideas came to us at different times, and we put it all together here for our to offer it to our customers.
So where would you say you are now with it, right? So you had specific ideas, and say, hey, and other stuff came to the table too. You said, we can actually do X, Y, and Z as well, right? Mm-hmm. Where would you say that it is now compared to what you wanted? Has it exceeded? Has it, are you still working on certain things that you'd like to get done, or?
I mean, the main thing to me is just basically, I think
and it reflects in our reviews and the response we're getting from customers is basically the place is like the way it is built is great. It's a great experience for the customers. Our food offerings and drink offerings are great. Our value is great. We're doing like $20 per person per hour for 1 hour, and that's like a great value. So like for $40, you can two people can come in and have a good night. I think that's cheaper than basically any place that does axe throwing. We pay our staff very well. We have a good, we pay them a good hourly rate. So they're very responsive, and they do a great job taking care of our customers. The aesthetic of the place, the feel of the place, all the offerings of the place, that we have is, I think the place is pretty much now exactly where I want it to be. What I'm hoping for is more of a response, more people coming and more people becoming aware of the place and basically saying, oh, this is a local small business that's doing everything the right way, and we want to give them that response. So I'm hoping for more of that, more people coming in, more of a response from the community. That would be, really the ideal for me now.
Yeah. And how do you find a guy like Kevin? Where does that story?
I think Kevin found us. Kevin found us.
I found that.
Yeah, because he has a business network because he's an entrepreneur. He hangs out with a lot. Kevin's a guy who's kind of a nucleus. So it's just basically a lot of people come around him. So he's an entrepreneur, and he basically had a lot of other entrepreneurs, a network event that he did. So every Thursday they came here. They had drinks and they hang out, talk. We gave them
they don't like it.
Kevin negotiated a rate with me to say, okay, well, let my guys throw for half price. I said, no problem. You guys are here every Thursday. So they drank, they ate, they hung out, and then we had a good relationship. And I mean, Kevin always helped me out with different things. Whenever I needed help for something, I reached out to Kevin just based on this very it's not like we're like childhood friends or this this small relation, but I mean he's the kind of guy who always jumps in and helps, what I mean. So he always came to me to help. We just needed somebody to bring somebody on who's going to drive revenue for us. So basically what I was talking about, so basically reach out to be a community ambassador for us, reach out to Chamber of Commerce. I mean, we had a membership with the Chamber of Commerce, but like to really harness that relationship, to go out to local people and meet with people to represent us. So that was Kevin's role, is to do revenue, because myself and Joby, we both have full-time jobs and families and everything else. So it's a little different for us to find the time to do all that, because your 9 to 5 is booked, and then your evenings are also spoken for in many ways, because if you have a wife and kids and everything else, it's a lot harder to do what Kevin does for us, which is very time consuming.
Yeah. So he's able to full-time focus on the place, and it kind of needs a kind of individual driver to it, to say like, okay, this is somebody who's passionate about the place, speaking about the place all the time, thinking about it all the time, and addressing. And when you're the business, it's kind of like a baby that never grows up. It constantly needs attention. You need to fix things, even things that you set up. You still like things unravel. Mm-hmm. You lose somebody who's you trusted with some things that certain responsibilities. That person moves on to some other opportunity. There's always stuff that comes up. But we've been very fortunate with the people we worked with. So you
guys have phenomenal staff.
Yeah, so we've had a great staff, and that shows in our reviews. If you look at our Google reviews, every other one mentions our staff.
Yeah.
So
that's half the battle.
Yeah,
I mean, like if you have somebody that says something. I mean, if you think about it, your entire time here on Earth is one-on-ones, right? Yeah. Or one-on-twos or one-on-threes, but communication, right? Yeah. That's the best thing you can do, is have a staff-related praise.
Yeah.
Because once you have a bad one, and it's like, well, I don't want to be treated like shit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who wants to go there?
Yeah.
But now that you know that it's a stranger that's going to treat you well, well, you automatically feel safe going to a place that you don't even know the person, and you know that you're going to be treated excellent. So I think that's more than half the battle.
Yeah. And then I think a big part of that is just how I think we had this community and this family environment with our staff, and how I think we do everything we can to accommodate and treat them well and pay them well. And then that synergy, kind of builds that environment of trust. Mm-hmm. And that I think we're reaping some of the benefits of that, of the fact that we're, I think a lot of entrepreneurs complain about staff, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm not dismissing those complaints, but I'm saying, I'm like, are you doing right by your staff though?
Yeah.
Is the question that I have.
There's three sides to every story.
Yeah, exactly. In a lot of cases, it's a little bit of that too, where it's like, are you doing the right thing for your people, you know? And I think and that's really, it's not really, when we even opened the business, it's not like, oh, we're gonna be millionaires off this thing or anything like that.
Right.
It was more like, we just want to build a space for people to get together. We want to provide employment and economic opportunities for people, and we want to create something that's good and wholesome in the community. You know, that was the goal, and that's what we were trying to do here with this space.
I think it's more rare than people think. Even though, like you say, you wanted to provide something for the community, right? Everybody that gets into a business, you don't know where the mindset is at. Do you want to become rich? Do you want to use the power? Is your ego taking over? There's so many different aspects that can be going through the mindset. But when you say something like, "Hey, we wanted something that the community can come to and have a good time. We want you to have fun. We want you to feel safe.
We want to provide value."
Yeah, and when people do come here and those reviews do hit, that's the value. The value is up now, and you can only go up from there. And I say that with confidence, as in the community spreading the good news of like, hey, this place is safe.
Yeah,
they're kind people. It's so easy to become a money like mongrel, and it really is. And then people, everything starts to downslide, you know what I mean? Because you notice that somebody is more money hungry than they are about the people.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have a great thing going, and bringing in somebody like Kevin shows that, you know what I mean? Hey, you guys have your family you have to take care of, and that's first, then the business, right? So Kevin's here, and as soon as I came in, Kevin told me, "Oh, dude, we have X, Y, and Z." And the way he explained it, like, dude, the way you explained everything was like, it's fun. Right? This isn't work. This is fun. I didn't know you guys had like poker nights. I didn't know that you had everything based on a point system. You know, so it's not illegal. You know what I mean? Like, you make every aspect
of it fun.
Fun, which is hard to do. Because I know other places that were like, well, we got busted once or twice for having like poker night, but like cash on the table. Like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? But you said you couldn't actually end up going to Vegas, right? Like, how did that point
if you
system
win the
go?
tournament?
If you
that's
win
crazy.
a tournament at this level, you go to the regional, then you go to the nationals in Vegas, and then you have the opportunity to go to the World Series of Poker, which is, I don't know, best year. I think the guy won like $10.5 million. But you can start here, learn the game, and play. And it's about having fun and enjoying the experience, whatever we do here, whether it's the poker, whether it's the pool, whether it's the access, whether it's the drinks, whether it's the food, whatever we do here, our whole focus is to provide the community with an opportunity to have an experience that they cannot have anywhere else. I have customers who come in and they love the idea of axe throwing. They go to other places because they love the idea, but they keep coming here because of the way they're treated, because of the experience they get to have with us. And like I said, the staff, we've got 3 key players on the staff, and they are phenomenal folks. And each one of them comes with their own characteristics that add so much value to the customer. And every time I hear from customers as they're leaving, you got to give this to Julia, you got to give this to AJ, and they just keep throwing money because they're like, how else can we thank them? They were so phenomenal. And that's great. It's just the word spreading so that more people get to have that same experience that they got to have along the journey.
I like that. If there was another business that you guys could do and it wouldn't be axe throwing, what would it be?
I would be interested in something like manufacturing. Like, my dad was a machinist, and I used to work in the summers with my dad, so I love that machine shop environment. The blue collar kind of work thing. It just, I mean, it's a good. So it would be hard to say exactly what, but something like that would be really cool to me. Something in manufacturing, something in, so that's a small shop that has a set of clients that they provide for, and it could be like telecommunications companies and other other big companies that they need certain parts or components that we manufacture and machine and set off to them. And yeah, that's a good. I mean, if you have a good customer, and if you have a good customer base, and they feel like, I can go to these guys and get exactly what I need, and it's going to be the way I want it. It's going to be to my specs, and it's going to be on time, and it's going to be delivered safely. That's that can make a big difference. And there's always people looking for work, and manufacturing in the U.S. is big. It's not like we think about everything's being manufactured in China because consumer goods are being manufactured in China, but a lot of other stuff, like complex industrial military stuff is being made right here. Yeah. It's just much more expensive, smaller, smaller scale components. But it's like because every toy, everything that we open package, it's made in China.
When you go to Walmart, there's a lot of made in China, but that's not. Yeah, the Walmart is not the country.
That's not the whole economic picture, right?
How about you?
No, that'll be the same thing. We talked about that before a lot of times about like, hey, this would be cool to have like a like kind of like an enterprise like this. I don't know. My dad didn't have the opportunity to go to college. We were like the first generation in my dad's family to be able to go to college. And so our path was always like, hey, go to college, get a good job. This is like the opportunity. This is kind of what you came here for, to go get an opportunity at a bank or whatever. So I worked, at big accounting firms. I still work for like a big consulting firm. So that's there. But also I still have a certain, like, I don't know, almost like a certain like guilt associated with not doing blue collar work, of like not doing like
that, it's okay.
not like working with my hands in a way, There's this, so I feel like if I had the chance to work in that area where I get to have a part of that experience, I would definitely probably take that up. Yeah, it's still not too late. When we were talking about this thing, we were like, hey, we're approaching our 40s. If we don't do it now, we're never going to do it. I could, but I'm likely not going to do it. So I'm like, hey, now is the time, we make the leap and see if it happens. And honestly, it was a huge risk for me. It's not really something that, I talked about my dad's dad being, but it's in the immigrant community, it's a very risk-averse community, at least for the first or second generation. They're like, hey, listen, man, just go get a job, and it's a very risk-averse community because, you don't know you still feel like, oh, well, this is, you don't know the place, you don't know the rules, you don't know the ins and outs, you don't have the connections and it's still starting out. So unless you're doing something very small, like you're selling insurance or something, like truly entrepreneurial, like, hey, come with the idea and start a place like that, it's kind of hard to do.
You're kind of like very vulnerable.
Yeah, it's a very vulnerable feeling. You're putting yourself out there, and you're setting yourself for potentially public failure. You know what I'm saying? So everybody knows, hey, you started this place and it didn't fucking work. And, it's like getting a divorce or something. It's like a big public failure. You said, hey, you tried this thing, it didn't work. It's a thing. Yeah. So you're definitely a feeling of vulnerability. And I've had a lot of sleepless nights about this place, because it took years to like design and develop it and grow it, and It takes a toll, because it's like having like a third kid to worry about. You're like, oh man, what's the future going to be like for this place? How much, are people going to show up? Is it going to actually take off? When I thought of it, I was like, I want this to, even if it has like a 10-year run and it becomes like a sort of like a local institution, that would be great. That's a great thing to just put on the, the old, legacy list, to be like, hey, it's like, hey, you did something, it made an impact, people had a good time there, it was like a thing that meant something to people, just having that, it's like, because we only have a short time on the planet, and you cycle through, like, there's only so much you leave behind, and this is another thing that, hey, you leave like a little piece of yourself behind, saying like, you built something, you made it from scratch, there was nothing here, and you kind of made it, and you kind of got it to work.
I even joke about it. I say, what's going to be in the second paragraph of the obituary?
Yeah.
He was seated by X, Y, and Z, and
So this is like the second paragraph.
Beef up that second paragraph.
Yeah, so this is like second paragraph material for us. We're like, hey, listen, we had the opportunity to do it. It's a privilege to have the chance to do it, but the thing is, you are also pushing a lot of chips into the middle of the table to be like, I want this to work. it's not like $1 million thing, but it's still a lot of money in our house. You know what I'm saying? To kind of start something like this and build something like this. So it's meaningful. It's a meaningful risk. It's a substantial risk. It's not. It wasn't like I'm spending trust fund money here.
Right.
I'm like this is like all hard earned like taxed money that I'm taking out of my bank account to put in here. To build this. So yeah, it's a very vulnerable feeling. It takes a certain amount of like, okay, you gotta take a deep breath and like jumping into a cold pool, like, hey, listen, we're gonna go, so it's not lightly done, so it's but yeah, we're hoping right now we're in the phase where we're hoping for more growth, and we're hoping like it becomes in terms of design and setup, I feel like it's almost basically where we want it to be. There's been a lot of little things we were like trying to fix, trying to change, and we've, I think we've kind of like, it kind of like fine-tune it to a point where I think it's very good, and we're very proud of the product and very proud of the place, and we're very proud of the staff and the people that we have here. So yeah, I think it's where we want it to be. We're just now in the phase of like, hey, how can we market the hell out of this thing? How can we grow it? How can we raise more awareness and have more develop more inroads with the community, and kind of do kind of make it self-sustaining in a way.
I mean, that's the hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not having to be able to worry about it.
Yeah.
Kev, on your seventh business now.
No. So, I want to quickly kind of turn a little bit. I don't know if I can speak for all, but coming to the point where you guys just mentioned about very anti-risk, right? Coming from the family. That's what I faced my entire life was, what
A lot
are
of
you doing?
pushback.
Go get a job, go to college, go get a job, work for 40 years, hope to retire on 40%, yada, yada, yada. Entrepreneurship was not a thing. Nobody in my family really ever owned a business. And it was a lot of pushback. Like, why don't you go get a real job? The amount of times I heard that drove me nuts. But to that same point, I also am one of those people that you ask me what I want to start tomorrow, I can tell you. And that's because for me, it comes back to passion. So my dream is to serve a community. And that's one of the things I love most about this place, is that's what we get to do. We get to serve the community. We get to provide them an experience, like I said, that they don't get to have elsewhere. And my company that I want to do outside of this is a service company for veterans that are homeless, unemployed, and or wanting to start their own companies. Because I love the idea of helping other people achieve their dreams. And so that's really it for me. I love the idea of blue collar. Been there, done that. Don't do that to your bodies.
Yeah.
Surgery, 1's already done. 4 more. Don't do that to yourself. Watch, tinker.
Yeah.
Do it for fun. Don't do it for business.
Yeah.
But yeah, my other company that I look forward to building is a company designed to help house, employ, and help veterans start their own businesses.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, because not for nothing, you see a lot of people. There's a guy. It's usually at the Newburgh Beacon Bridge, and he's a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
If I have something, I always give it to him. If I don't have anything, I just give him whatever food I have. Like, it's just, but you see that some of these people are actually ready to work.
Yeah.
But nobody gives them the opportunity.
Yep.
That's sometimes the hardest thing to accept, is that, like, I can only do so much.
Yeah.
I put people in hotels for a night or two because that's what I could afford. That's the best I can do.
Yeah.
But if there's something that could elevate even more,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, that'd be great
You want
see.
to help somebody in a way that's self-sustaining, where they
Right.
can
The
kinda
old adage
go-
about you give a man a fish, or you
Yep,
teach him how to fish.
yeah.
Yeah.
You give a man a fish, you'll eat for a day. You teach him how to fish, you'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it's true. We want to help. I think we as humans, even though the news paints us as bad things, we as humans, at our core, want to help others. And that's what we get to do in each and every one of our days. I like what you said about what's the second paragraph going to be.
Yeah.
I like the adage, on your tombstone, it's got a date, a dash, and a date. what does that dash stand for?
Yeah. That's everything
what makes
between,
up that dash?
That's everything in between, right? Yeah.
Like, yeah, you were born here, you passed away here, but who were you? And if we get to leave this planet in whatever capacity you believe in, just changing one person's life for the positive.
Yeah.
You made a world of difference to that one person. Imagine how many you can really make a difference to by something as simple as just saying hi or giving them an opportunity or what have you. And that's what we get to do.
Yeah, I think even one person's make a difference in one person's life is substantial.
Yeah.
And I saw this one time, initiate the smile first.
That's it.
No.
Because you don't know how far a smile can go.
No, you don't. You have no idea what the other person walking by is.
Yeah.
If you make eye contact, smile at them. Because you have no idea what's going on in their
Just don't
mind,
do it
what's going on in
creepily.
their... Yeah, and don't have a weird mustache. That can get really awkward.
Yep.
No, but, and it was weird because I tried it a couple times and I was just like, I feel so odd because I don't...
Do with this all the time.
No, you're out of your comfort zone.
But
right?
I think it goes back to what you first said. Like you're the one making yourself vulnerable first. Because what if they don't reciprocate that smile, or what if they're like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" You're kind of like, you know what I mean? You're being vulnerable. You're kind of exposed. You're letting your guard down when you smile. So you're exposing yourself a little bit to say, So it's like you're the first one to take the leap. So you're hoping on faith that the other person comes with you.
Yeah. So I'll bring a question that I've asked many on the show. Okay. And it is, if today was the last day on Earth and you knew it, okay, what would be the one question that you would want an answer to?
Oh wow.
You can take as much time as you
Did I make a difference?
Did you make a
that's a good one,
difference?
yeah.
That's a good one.
That's the question I ask in a sense, each day. How can I make a difference? What I ask myself each day. So, my question would be, did I make a difference?
Yeah.
It's important.
And hopefully, was it a good difference?
We're not talking mathematical here. You know?
But yeah, did I make a difference?
Yeah, I've gotten so many different answers from this, and it's just like starting off this podcast. I asked this question at each gas station that I would go to, and I would just ask random strangers, and it's amazing, like the answers that you would get.
But you would cold turkey ask somebody that?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like I usually just, I went up and usually they think I'm selling something. That's usually how it is. But that's where the majority of people are.
Yeah.
They can't.
They can't escape at the gas station.
No, they can't. They cannot escape. They're pumping their gas.
They
You
have
need
their
gas.
yeah, but like when you come up and a stranger comes up, like you go up to a stranger, they already put up their
guard.
They're
Yeah.
like, what do you want?
Yeah.
I don't have any. No.
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like that's a question that'll kind of be like, oh, okay, cool. That's that's like a very like something that'll break through that barrier.
Yep.
Yeah. So I asked one gentleman, and he was like, I don't have an answer. I said, you don't even have to answer me.
Yeah.
Just think about that today. And I ran into him again at one point. And he was like, I thought about that all day, and it completely changed my mindset of like what I was angry at, what I was doing with my life. And he was like, dude, I used to be bitter about so many small things, and he's like, I realized that tomorrow I could be gone. And I was like, well, I was looking for an answer, but if that did that for you, that's awesome.
That's great. Yeah,
that's,
no, but that's a good point. Like you don't even have to have an answer for it. You just have to think about it. And even thinking about it can.
The process is what's important.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's processing it, and if you guys don't have an answer, that's okay.
Yeah.
No,
I guess I have a daughter, so I don't know if it's a question that can be answered. I'd be like, is she gonna be okay? That would be my because I mean it could somebody could sometimes that happens. Somebody lose a parent, and it's just not a footnote, but something that in a way they're a resilient enough person to persevere and get through that and make them stronger in many ways. You know what I mean? It's like a nice. It's a nice like opening line for your college essay or whatever.
That's debatable.
nice opening line.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Like they find the positive in it and go on. I'm like, is she gonna be able to do that or not? It would be my thing.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have that that driver in life.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean, from that perspective, absolutely, that would be ring true.
Yeah.
And you got two little ones.
That'd be one thing I'd wonder about. If are they going to be okay? I don't know if about a question, but if I knew it was the last day, I feel like I would spend a lot of time talking to them, because I was like, I only have so much time to have this conversation now with them about like my life and who I was and the things and the hopes I have for them, and just have that conversation with them, and like you have that conversation with my wife about like, hey, what the future looks like, and I feel like those would be, I would call my mom and dad and be like, hey, I hope I was a a good son, a good brother, like whatever, a good friend, So that I feel like I would just spend the day having conversations with the people in my life. I don't know that I'd want to answer to any question, more just be able to like talk to the people that were meaningful to my life and let them know what they meant to me, more than like how much I made a difference to them. Just let the people that made a difference to me know that, hey, you like made life worth living. You gave me a reason to wake up in the morning. The fact that I have you, and I have to, and you depended on me, like kept me like going. There are times when I didn't want to wake up in the morning, and I'm like, hey, you're the reason I woke up, So just letting them know that. I don't know that it's a question, but yeah, I feel like I would have a lot of conversations with them. I don't think I'd sleep that day. I'd probably just talk. Be like, yeah, just talk for
Lots of Red Bull.
Yeah. Have these long conversations. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something to think about, because it's
it's a thought-provoking question.
Yeah, sure. It's a very good question.
None of us know.
Yeah.
None of us know. So it's good to, I guess, remind yourself of that question.
Yeah.
Or that idea.
Yeah. Because it's finite. Time is finite. That's what... Death is what gives life meaning,
Yes.
Like, there's this thing about, like, how boring immortality is, and, like, how... basically, you would accomplish nothing if you're an immortal in a way, because you're like, you could always do it tomorrow. You could always start losing weight next year or the year after. Like, it doesn't fucking matter, because you're never gonna age. Like, it's, none of this... Like, it's basically, like, doesn't give significance to things.
The moment.
So there was a scene, one movie, I forgot, where this character says to another, like, hey, the gods envy us. The gods envy us. That's the thing they don't teach you, is that the gods, there's like a Greek thing, it was like Troy, where the Achilles, the character, said, hey, the gods envy us because because we're mortal, they envy us, because nothing they experience will ever be this special as like us being here together, or
So if they see a beautiful sunset, they've already seen 1,000 of them, or they'll see
100,000 more. It's meaningless. It's meaningless. So so that's what gives the whole thing meaning, is the end of it.
Yeah, the finite amount of time.
Yep.
Yes.
I think it's important, like, to understand that, like, death gives life meaning. Right? That's the one thing that all of us have in common. Every single human being comes in the same way, and they leave the same way.
Yeah.
I'm not, maybe a different way exiting, right? But that's the
same
we all
experience,
come
yeah.
to an end.
Yeah.
And we are all put inside of this world. You know what I mean? The same way. So it's like, to know that we can have so many differences in between that dash, right?
That dash.
But that start was the same way that everybody else came in.
Yep.
And the leaving part, you're leaving the same way everybody else left.
Yeah.
Regardless of where we go, regardless of what we do, that is the one thing, the two things actually, that we have in common, no matter what, as human beings, is the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
And I think that is like, I don't know. I think that's more important than people.
Yeah, that's part of the shared human experience. Absolutely. Yeah, that shapes a lot of who we are and the way we think.
So where can these listeners find you guys at Saxon Hall? Where exactly are you guys on social media and YouTube and any? How many different do you have? Do you have like 19 of them or?
No. We have the website. That's probably the most important. SaxonHall.com is a website, and then we have a Facebook following and Facebook and Instagram, and we have a TikTok, but it's not super active.
We just started
starting
TikTok,
that.
So.
Yeah, at Saxon Hall X is the Instagram.
Okay.
And then Facebook is related to that. But I mean, if you just search us on Facebook, Saxon Hall X.
Saxon Hall X.
That'll
right there.
And I'll put it in the show notes anyway.
Yeah.
So that way everything is.
SaxonHall.com and Saxon Hall X. That's where you can find us.
Joby, Josie, Kevin, I appreciate your guys' time, your guys' story, which is it's now chiseled in time. So I appreciate your time because you can't get it back. So I appreciate you giving it to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go. We have to leave now. I have to leave. We have to leave now. I have to go. Go.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Well, see you later.